Uh, okay, so Nico, do you want to chat on stream, or do you want to just type to me? It's up to you.
Oh no, I'm cool to
Oh,
talk on
hey,
stream.
what's going on, man? Say hi to the 7 viewers watching. That's actually pretty good.
All right, yeah, what's going on, guys?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right, cool. How about you talk a little bit about yourself in terms of like chess? Like, when did you first start learning chess? What's your current strength right now? And what do you want to get out of these lessons? And again, it's not like it's only like one lesson. Whenever I'm available during these certain times,
Yeah.
when I'm available, hit me up, man, and we'll go through some stuff.
All right, yeah, sure. So I've played chess. Well, I played chess when I was like a lot younger. So like when I was like 5 or 6, I was in like chess club or whatever for like a few years there. But I didn't really take it super seriously. So I was pretty bad.
Yeah, yeah.
I kind of I kind of picked it up again in the summer after not playing for like a few years, and I kind of stagnated around 7 to 800. But then I started taking chess like pretty seriously. Climbed up to like 1100, stayed there for like a month, and then recently I just climbed all the way up to 1250, and I've just kind of been sitting
Oh
around there. That's on
shit!
chess.com. That's on chess.com though, but not I don't really usually chess too much, but
No,
yeah.
but chess.com is, I think it's because you start off naturally at 1200 anyway, while in
Yeah.
elite chess you start 1500. So the rating system's kind of bloated, just because the
Yeah.
amount of rating is in like the kind of like the pool. So the fact that you all the way went up to 1250, it means like you're like a tiny bit above the average chess player in the world. But um,
That's pretty cool.
but yeah, but tournament wise, that's a whole other story though, because usually um, whatever you're on online, it's kind of like you're like minus 200 to 300 points. And like the range is kind of big when you're playing tournament chess. Ethan, you started at
Right.
400 on chess.com. You definitely got scammed. Holy jeez. Um, so what I'm thinking. Okay, so sorry. You didn't. You forgot to tell me your age. I don't think I didn't ask. I didn't ask you
Oh
that.
yeah, I'm 17. I'm
17.
17. Yeah.
Very nice. And what are you trying to look for? Because I want to hear what your thoughts are, and then I'm going to kind of tell you the reality of a 1250, and kind of like bridge the gap if there is like a gap.
Yeah. I feel like I want to be more consistent in chess because there are some days where I consistently play at a very, very high accuracy and see some crazy tactics, but then there's
Yep,
like,
yep.
there's days where I miss like some really basic stuff and just play really bad. But generally, I think I want to understand like concepts like like how to know when like because I feel like positionally I'm not very strong. Like when I watch chess streamers, like there's sometimes when they make some move for like a positional advantage in the future, and I just don't see it. I don't get it.
Oh yeah,
Or I'll
absolutely.
make a positional mistake and like like block a bishop in or something like that, and I don't understand why that's bad. Like until the end of the game.
Yeah. So I could definitely tell you something about um, kind of like how that works, because when someone explains it to us, like a move, and it could be anything from like a 1200 level move to a 2100 level move to like a 3200 move, where 3200 move is like the engine, like the top
Mm,
tier, whatever engine's being used. And what happens is when someone tells us to move, our brain immediately is so good, like it sinks into that thinking, and you're like, oh, I see the move, etc. The problem is that when you have no sense of the board, it's hard for you to come and produce that just by yourself unless you have the training or insight or experience or a combination of all. So that's kind of what's happening. That's why chess is very challenging to watch. That's why it's not like
right.
mainstreamed on like TSN or MSNBC or anything like that. It's because A, there's not that much crazy action unless you know what's going on, and B, it's actually hard to really follow. Um,
Yeah.
so that's why when it comes to learning chess, um, ideally the best way of learning chess is kind of like more to identify like what's your way of naturally learning. So people like visual, some people are auditorial, some like playing like learning by doing.
Right.
So I kind of find, I'll give you an example for me. So when I was um, between the age of like 5 to 18, I self-taught myself, and my dad helped me out at 4. He started teaching me chess, like all the basics, whipped my ass every time. When I hit 5, I started beating him all the time. And he was like, I think he was like 1100 or something.
Mhm.
So how I learned was I actually read books, but I would like, and not even books. I read like a chess article. So my local newspaper every Sunday had a chess article written by Lawrence Trent, the IM, and he wrote about like what happened like somewhere in Russia or Portugal, like a game, and then he would show one game every time. And what I would do is I would actually read the game, and even though I didn't understand it, I kept reading it, so I internalized it, and that's how I slowly got better over time. Um, and the problem is like it's very hard to like watch something and internalize it. Like it's really hard to soak it in. Like eyes and reading, like that's why people say reading is better because you absorb it and then through repetitive action you learn something. So back to what you said, you just want to become more consistent. So I could definitely do that. I think between 1200 to 1500, the number one thing to focus on is just not blundering. Um,
Yeah.
you don't care about openings. You don't care about learning that stuff because what happens is, and this is where I see all the time, and I do teach I do teach chess to a wide variety of students, like in my personal life. Um, but and I noticed that um, they'll like learn something like, yeah, I want to learn Rui Lopez, like I want to learn how to play Bishop B5, etc. And then after like 6 moves of intense memorization, they have no idea what to do on the seventh move. They have no clue because you don't have that understanding, right? So
Yeah.
for a newer chess player, the way I focus is fundamentals, and I also find that reviewing your games, even in the beginning, is so important. But you don't review with an engine because you can't internalize an engine move. Like no one can think of a 3200 level rated move all the time. It's like we're not built that way, at least us players.
Mhm.
So finding someone that's like a little bit stronger than you, showing you better moves, it's easier to understand, internalize, and then you'll start recognizing it. And then eventually, you won't even recognize it anymore. It'll be like pattern recognition. It'll just be built into your head.
Right.
So
Okay.
what we can do, I'm going to share with you my screen on Discord, so you can see
All
everything
right.
real time. Uh, there we go. Yeah, so let me know when you can see it.
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay, so we can do a couple of things. I think the best way to do this so far is let's get a game that you've played on chess.com and find a game where like you can just pick any random game, like as long as it has like at
All right.
least like 20 moves, and we can just
Okay.
go
Yeah.
through the game. And it doesn't matter if you win or loss, but you can just read me the moves and I'll play it out, and you can see it on the screen. And then at certain points, if I notice something, I'll tell you to stop. I'll ask you a question, and I kind of want you engaged in answering it. So it might be something like, oh, um, do you see like a possible tactic here? Oh, do you see a blunder? Or hey, look, here's like an other alternative move, and there's a reason why. So we can do something like very basic.
All right. Yeah. Yeah. Here, let me find a. I'm gonna try to find a game that like wasn't like super good, but wasn't like insanely bad
No, no, no.
for me.
Don't even think of that,
Oh, okay.
because
Just.
all I care about. So here's the thing: is I don't care how they play, in a sense. I care about what you do because
Oh, okay.
if we keep
Yeah.
like, let me do this. Let me put it this way: like, if we review 10 games and I go through every game with you, and we find little things to improve on, you'll be much better already, like without a doubt.
Right. Okay.
So
Here, I'm gonna. Let me just. This is just a random game. I just picked.
yeah, for sure. So also, if you're, I don't know what timer do you play on chess.com.
I typically play rapid chess because I've heard that blitz and bullet is not very good for improvement, so I play rapid mainly.
Yeah, so 10-0 is actually the most popular timer in the world online.
Yeah.
So that's good. No, that's good. I would highly recommend it. Like again, bullet and blitz is still fine, like for fun, and blitz is definitely like at least a pretty good timer, but 10-0 is definitely like the way to go from a learning standpoint. So definitely you're already on the right track.
All right. I did send you a game, by the way.
Oh no, you don't even need to send me the game. I want you to read the moves to me
Oh,
because
okay.
yeah, because I want you to say it because that's kind of like I said, that's like how I keep the engagement. Like I can like we could put moves into PGN and go through it all. Nah, that's not the way. I want you to like read the moves to me, and
Okay.
I just all I need to know is if you're black or white.
All right, so I played black in this game.
Okay.
All right, so white played e4.
Yeah.
I responded with e5. Knight f3, knight c6.
So knight f3, and you play
Yep,
knight
and
c6.
then
Okay.
yep, and then white played d4. So he played a scotch.
Okay.
I took with the pawn.
Okay.
And then he took with the knight, and I gave a bishop check on b4.
So you played bishop b4.
Yeah.
Okay. Why did you play bishop b4? I'm just curious.
Because when I was playing this game, I had remembered that taking with the knight was not advantageous for black because white immediately gets a queen in the center and they have more active pieces. Or at least, so I heard that and I was like, okay, so that's because that's what white wants. They want to get an active queen and they want to trade off the pieces for that active queen. So I played bishop b4 because I just thought, hey, maybe we'll trade the bishops or something. But white played c3 in that position after I gave the bishop check.
So let's reverse for a second. So that thinking, so that explanation is like, it's like, I would say it's like 85% correct. So you can see my board, right?
Yeah. I'm looking right now.
Yeah. So obviously I'm showing the position like you got a good queen, and now I don't know about active queen is necessarily that's the right move, but here the way is explained is that having a queen that can't be harassed while she's in the center is very bad for black, or very bad for white if it was the opposite, because there's not really that many like harassing moves, because usually when the queen goes to d4, the key move is the knight c6 harassment to get a tempo and move that queen. And the only way to really harass is kind of like bishop c5, and c5 is kind of weird because your pawn hasn't moved yet on the d file. It, it it's kind of like a weird move, and then the queen can instantly sidestep, and there's really no way to harass this queen. So she's kind of chilling and being active, and more importantly, not being attacked. So there's lack of, you can't take advantage of a queen, because usually in chess you don't want to get your queen active right away, because it could be threatened very quickly and therefore lead to extra tempo. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So now back to your bishop move. I don't think this is necessarily the worst thing, because when you invoke c3, you can kind of move your bishop anywhere, and it's kind of like an equal tempo. And the pawn on c3 isn't the greatest move, because usually white wants to play knight c3. But I just want to give you a couple of options that are still equally fine. This is the most famous option, bishop c5, and there's nothing wrong with it at all. In fact, it might even be considered something that you might want to try, because you're just putting more pressure on the d square. So you're putting the question to the knight already. And white doesn't have anything like a bishop c4, queen like f3 tactic to like go after f7. They don't have anything that quickly. So maybe this is fine, because here's the difference. Let's say you play bishop f5, right? No, sorry. Remember how you played bishop c4?
Yeah.
And then they played c3, and then you're gonna most likely move it here. I feel like that's kind of
that. Like yeah, that is what I played the game.
So notice how you played your bishop c5, and now it's their turn, right?
Right.
So what if you did this? What if you played bishop c5, and they played c3? What's the difference now?
I think the difference is that if I take in the center, I'm giving them two center pawns, and I don't have pawn on the ease file.
No. So I know you're okay. So that's naturally the correct way of thinking, but that's not the question.
Okay, I see what you're saying. It's my move.
Exactly. And guess what? That means you have another opportunity to get another move in. That's the difference. Right. So by playing this, they're going to do this 90% of the time. They might do this, which that's kind of interesting. That's very unusual, but it can happen. Knight c3, or they can play bishop d2, and now it puts like a challenge. And honestly, I'm not sure if this is the best move or not. Like, it's, there's a lot of things you can do. You can retreat the bishop back. You can play queen e7, but you're not looking to try and complicate the board. You as black, you kind of want to be very simple and clear, and like you said, consistent. You don't want to blunder. So
Yeah.
you kind of want to keep the board open, and I think that's
Right.
good for players of your strength. By the way, um, where Salvor, he's around 1250. That's the student's strength. So you want to be that. You want to make it like I think you want prefer open boards where you can like see things and be aware not to blunder. And again, if your opponent blunders, which is very likely for opponents of your strength, it's just a matter of time. In the meantime, you just play consistent good moves. So
Right.
definitely, I wouldn't just play bishop b4 unless you have something planned. But again, that requires studying, and you don't want to study this opening. You want to build up your fundamentals.
Yeah.
I recommend either bishop e7, which is a solid move, slightly passive but still fine, or bishop c5, which is completely fine. And again, if they play c3, then you're chilling because then you get an extra knight, you get another move, which happens to Katsu quicker.
Right.
So those little things kind of make a difference because you want to increase your chess tempo by getting your pieces more active in the game, while hoping to decrease their tempo. But if you can't do that, then you make sure you're active. Because then if
Right.
they do something, which makes sense because they're white, then you can respond equally. And that's kind of like how you have to think.
All right. Yeah,
So
I see that now. Yeah.
yeah, no worries. So bishop b4, c3, and you went bishop c5.
Yeah.
Right?
I moved the bishop back, and then he took my knight.
Okay, and what did you do here?
I took with the b pawn,
Yeah, makes sense.
and then he played g3,
Interesting.
which then I played queen f6.
Okay, so I already know what you're thinking. So when you see opponents play g3 or b3, you're fianchettoing, which is obvious. Um, so something for you to be aware of is that when they're fianchettoing, that means they're taking time to set up.
Right.
And because it takes 2 moves to get a bishop there. But the reward for them is they have like a solid king with a good bishop. Most of the time, they have a good bishop, and it's pretty protected. So, one thing you want to do, so you have different options. The first thing you want to do is when they're fianchettoing, look to see if there's a way that you can exploit them. If there's a way to like play a move that might cause them a bit more trouble.
Right.
Because they're naturally taking longer to set up. So it's kind of like, how do I explain it? It's like, do you know like medieval times, like knights, swords,
Yeah.
shields, and all that? So
Yeah.
imagine you got a horse coming at you, right? Or sorry, imagine you're in a horse and you're a knight and you're coming at someone, right? And this guy is about to bring out his like big Buster Blade shield, and you got a sword. And so if you hit the sword, if you swing with the sword at the shield, there's 2 things that happen. Number 1, your sword's going to bounce off the shield, correct?
Yeah.
And number 2, it's going to take you time to get to the actual guy where you can initiate the sword swing. But by that time that happens, the shield's going to come out and he's going to block it, correct?
Yeah.
So imagine you recognizing that he's about to bring out his Buster shield. Instead of a sword, you have a spear. And that you take the spear and you're like 6-8 meters away and you hurl it at the guy before he gets his shield out. Now what's going to happen? They get hit, they get injured, and now by the time you get there with your sword, they might not have their shield up because they've already been attacked by you once, and now you can keep swinging at the guy.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I'll get an analogy, yeah.
It is. Oh, you know what? Yo, Twitch, I just pulled that out of my ass. That was like the best analogy of chess teaching I've ever done. Like, I'm not kidding me. I've been doing this for 15 years, and I never came up with something like that. But it makes sense. So in chess, if they're setting up, see if there's a way that you can exploit them. Because if you exploit them, even if you put some pressure, they're not going to be able to like set up properly because you're putting pressure on them already. And that leads to them possibly making a mistake.
Right. So so what is like if queen f6 is like maybe not exploiting them too much, but like threatening like mate one, what is better? Like, what
Yeah.
should I play
So
instead?
queen. Okay. So I'll tell you what queen f6 is. Queen f6 is like, hey, I want to try and mate you, but it
Yeah.
might not work. In fact, 99% of the time it won't work against people your strength. In
Yeah.
Solver, not gonna lie, that was a fire analogy. Yo, man, post it on chess. Put it on Reddit chess right now. Just clip it there. No, I'm kidding. No, I really like the analogy because you can use that analogy, and a 1000 would learn, a 1200 would understand, a 1500 would understand, an 1800 would understand. Remember when I was playing against Brendan, um, and I told him like you should play Bishop F4 against that like Bishop E3 like rookie 8 pin. That's exploitive. That's what you want to do because I was trying to set up, and if he did that, it would have caused pressure on me, and I wouldn't be able to. I would have to deal with his threat first. So it's the same analogy for like any strength. So the reason, sorry, back to you. The reason why Queen F6 is kind of dubious is number one, they can play like F4 and have like
Yeah,
have all
that's
the space,
yeah.
and not to mention
That,
your knight wants to go to knight F6. It wants to go here
right.
because it wants to threat the pawn on E4. It's a naturally good square. So like if you did this, and let's say they push a pawn, your knight goes here, and you're in a comfortable knight in a central location. Um,
Right.
so you got options. You actually have quite a bit of options. So what I was thinking about was because he wants to set up the bishop move, you might want to consider playing queen e7 instead.
Okay.
Because now you're attacking a pawn. But that's not the only thing you're attacking. Why is this like what's wrong with this pawn in this situation? Like let me know.
I mean, from what I see, I mean it's pretty weak, and it's also on the same line as the king.
Perfect. Exactly. So
Yeah.
pawns that are anything that's pinned means they have literally like no like they can't do damage. Let's put it that way.
Right.
They're like using a wooden sword against your like your Buster Shield. So
And so,
Mhm.
yeah. So I was gonna say, like, if he plays, like the bishop in, Ethian Ketos, I could theoretically play a move like, something wild like, like what's the score? Oh, F5.
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
100%.
and then just like that, I'm gonna can't take.
Yeah, and that's actually kind of where we're going at. I was actually thinking D5, but F5 is not bad
Right.
too. So that's kind of where I was leaning at because if he or she naturally goes with the Bishop G2 with the intention to castle, you can be exploitive and put pressure on the pawn. And if they
Okay.
trade, you got a pawn. Now, this still might not be the best position here. Yeah, no, Bren. I was gonna get to that. Don't worry. This might not be the greatest position because now your opponent can like try and go on the pawn, and then you play like f5, and now they can try and be exploitive and attack. But notice how your bishop is
Oh, I
actually
gotta.
pinning. Yeah, see, there's the reason
That's
why.
quite a powerful bishop right there.
Exactly, and that's so good. I'm glad you recognize the bishop's power because you want to keep this bishop as long as possible. On even if you you rather not trade it with this bishop, but sometimes you might have to. But notice how
Right.
like now if you play knight c6, now your pawn is kind of strong, and you give it a chance to castle. Again, your opponent is going to try and do exploitive things against you because look, now you have like this weird potential pin, but they can't move the pawn.
Right.
So by the time that happens, you can castle out of the way, and now you got all this protection, and now you're up a pawn. So that's just really good.
Right. Okay.
Um, the second thing to talk about, and actually, one of the followers on, or sorry, one of the viewers on Twitch just pointed this out. Rather than d5 or f5, you could play bishop a6.
So I'm preventing him from castling.
Exactly.
I'm just being really annoying.
That's
Okay.
This is one of the most annoying scenarios you could possibly.
Oh, I definitely know that. Yeah, I find moves like that really frustrating for sure.
Yeah, and here's another thing: if White plays something like Queen A4, trying to get this bishop, well, first of all, you have like a pawn on C6, which is great because it covers D5 and it covers B5, so it's taking space in the center. And now you could just play bishop b5, and now you just got a tempo on the queen. Now the queen has to move, and now guess what? It's your turn. Now you can do some other move you want. You can play a5 to expand. You can play f5 like you crazy nut to try and hit the e pawn, or you can play knight f6. Get another active piece. Now your opponent has
Right.
one piece. You have four out. See the difference?
That's a huge difference.
Huge difference. And the bishop is considered an active piece, but it's just protecting the pawn. And you have like a rock triangle on c6. Like that pawn's not going to do anything.
Right.
So that's kind of something I want you to think. And I'm not saying that you're going to find it right away. It's going to take some time. But you have to really. It's literally kind of like a mind process. You have to ask yourself every move, and I swear you have to. Every beginner has to do this. You have to literally stop and be like, "Is there something I can exploit? Is there something I can exploit?" Because if you find it, then it's going to become an easier game for you and a harder game for your opponent. It doesn't mean you're winning. It doesn't even mean you have an advantage. But if you can make it tougher on your opponent, that's where they blunder. And everyone blunders. That's why chess is so fun.
Right.
And if you don't find something, well, then you just try and stay consistent and try and stay active as best as possible. So they played queen g3. Oh, sorry, you didn't play g3. You played queen f6, and then what did they do after?
They played bishop f4.
Oh, so notice how they're defending from the threat, but
and developing.
Okay. What did you do?
I played g5.
Of course, that makes sense. Because no, you explained to me why you played g5.
I decided, I can put some pressure on the bishop here. And then pretty much his only move in that position is a3. He has to move the bishop to e3 or he gets mated in 1. Or he loses a piece. So, and then he basically moves to e3, and then in that scenario I take because now I've doubled his pawns, and now his position is worse than mine.
So
that was kind of my thinking with that.
That is good thinking. Just curious, what would you have done if you played e5?
Ooh. Yeah, that's that's a good move. I don't have to move the queen.
Gotta move the queen. that's number one.
Oh, that's true. Okay, maybe I just have to move the queen to like just an unfortunate square like G. Like, do I have to go to like G6 or something? Like, I don't want to lose the pawn.
Well, you can also then play bishop d3.
Okay, now he's okay. So now I've given him tempo. Now he's attacking my queen.
Exactly. So I just want you can take some time and process this on your own. I just want to point out that you want to try don't get me wrong. There's nothing this is not a bad move, but you got to try and see if there's a way to counter you. So naturally, and people at your level don't necessarily think that way. Is they don't look at advantages your opponent can do to try and threaten a more valuable piece, which then forces you to move. Yo, Brendan Game Chess, thanks a lot for coming, man. Thank you for stopping by. You'll see me more. If I get Reddit chess players wanting to get lessons and they allow me to stream them, you'll see me all the time. And it's fun. I like it. Take care, man. But yeah, so
I think that was the best move for him. Yeah, was pushing that pawn. That's what I just looked.
I think it is. I think just because when I look at the board, I can't see a way for the black queen to take advantage of the situation after e5. So that's kind of where I was thinking. But again, it's not I'm not saying that you got to find this move. It's not the easiest to find, but you want to consider is there anything that could screw me up if I make this move on g5? So what you have to actually kind of do, and every chess player does this, it's just the speed of how they do it is based on like the strength of the player. Is they go through, they look at every opponent piece, including pawn, and see if that moved this, if that moved here, can that mess me up right away?
Right.
So if you kind of like did the pawns first, you would have looked at e4 and been okay, pawn to e4 to e5. Oh, my queen, it's being attacked, and that's when you responded it. Okay, so after g5.
So after g5, my opponent moved bishop to e3, and then I took with my bishop.
Okay, and then they took back.
Yeah.
Cool.
And then this move wasn't. This move was not great. I moved queen to e6.
Man, you're just greedy.
I know. I was just greedy for pawns there, and I can see why that's a bad move, honestly.
So why is it a bad move?
Because, well, I think it's a bad move because, which I didn't, I think I moved too quick there. The pawn is easily defendable, with the bishop, and he's developing another piece, by moving that bishop. So he develops another piece, and I just move my queen to try to take a pawn. Although I think the better move there, was honestly maybe trying to get my knight out or something. I don't know. I mean, I guess with the queen move, I can get my knight out, but it just lets him develop and defend the pawn at the same time.
Yeah. So I get the queen e6 part. You definitely recognize for sure, and this is actually extremely common with newer players or players that are still learning. Rushing is the worst thing you can do in your life in chess, because you rush and you don't think, and that's the whole point of chess, is to think and try and assess and figure out the best move, especially if you're playing rapid. So unless you have like a minute left on your clock, you want to take some time. So yeah, queen e6, you've identified that there's definitely a lot of ways to protect this pawn. So let's say they play bishop g2, which is very natural. And remember that idea we talked about d5, kind of like exploiting it? It doesn't really work that well because, first of all, they actually have 3 attackers on this d5. They got a queen, they got a pawn, and they got a bishop. You only have 2 defenders, so you lose an exchange. And even if you took this pawn, queen e2 is a pretty good move for them, because let's say you exchange. Well, if you take this d5 pawn back, now they get a tempo and a free pawn, and they attack your rook. So that d5 scenario doesn't work. So that's something called calculating, where I'm sure you've heard this many times, and I'm sure you're naturally doing it yourself, is you take one move, you play it, and if you do this, then they do this, then you do this. And that is literally a skill that anyone can do, but only a handful will do it correctly. And that's something that you have to practice all the time, nonstop. You got to like sleep, calculating in your brain while you're sleeping. No, I'm kidding. But that's something that
actually. Sorry to interrupt you.
No,
but,
by all means.
Something interesting that happened to me when I started playing chess. I suffered from this thing called the Tetris effect, where I would dream about chess. Chess would like randomly come into my mind, like randomly, and stuff like that. Like it still happens to me. Like I'll just randomly think about chess, or like I'll have dreams about like chess, like moves and stuff like that, which is kind of weird. But I've heard it's pretty common with a lot of people when they get into chess.
That's interesting. I don't know if that happened to me ever. I do know that when I get sick, for some odd reason, in the nighttime, I imagine myself being in a video game world. Like I dream it that way, and I can't get out and I can't like sleep because it doesn't let me. Like it only happens when I'm like
happens every time you're sick.
When I'm severely sick, like really sick. Like,
that's weird.
Like I'm not talking about COVID sick,
cool.
which I have no idea how that feels. Luckily. But I mean, like if I have like a crazy fever or like I'm just weak all over, that happens and I can't sleep and it pisses me off. So crazy stuff happens during sleep. Like the brain is really
yeah. No kidding.
So definitely d5 doesn't work.
Yeah.
Another thing too is that they can also just play queen d3, it is a developing move, and it also protects these two pawns. So queen e6 definitely not the most effective. So the recommendation for here. So the problem with the knights is if you play like knight e7, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
have the greatest immediate squares because f5 and d5 are both covered by this pawn on e4. So it's actually really annoying.
Yeah.
Um, Eventually, you would want to get your knight to g6 and then to e5 and put your knight on a good outpost where it covers g4, f3, d3, c4. The problem is that's like two more moves. That's a lot of moves. So
Right.
not really recommended. What you want to try and do is castle. So what would be the most effective way of castling? Well, here's probably another question. Do you want to castle kingside or do you want to castle queenside?
Right. I definitely. Oh, that's. Well, see, the problem is that I've now overextended my G pawn, and my pawns are doubled on the C file, so both look kind of bad. I mean, I
So
think Kingside's probably better here. Actually, maybe
so
not. I don't know.
so here's the thing. C pawn is actually a pretty good pawn because it's covering these squares.
Right.
So my
So maybe Queenside's better.
I think queenside's more doable and more efficient than um, kingside, mainly because the knight's kind of awkward, and playing the knight for now is a bit awkward to get to the right square. Another thing too that you can do, and this is what I would probably I might do this in a tournament if I was in this position, is I might just play something like this. Um,
Right.
and the reason why is because now if I play d5, I got like a defender with this bishop here on b7 to cover the d5 square indirectly. And also, I can also just push this pawn c5 one day, and now my bishop is open attacking down this line. And if your opponent plays like queen b3 to threaten the bishop, I could just castle. And now suddenly, um, my rook can potentially be in the game for d5. And now my rook is suddenly quite active down this aisle, which could definitely open up for it, right?
Right.
Another thing to recognize too is your queen on f6 is doing way more damage than e6, simply because you're aiming down this aisle. Because what happens now when your queen's on this spot aiming down this line? What can't white do?
Can't castle. Queenside.
Exactly. You know how annoying that is. And
Yeah.
let's go back here for a second. How do you stop the black queen from doing that?
Um.
There's really no like clear way right now. Like in one move, you
Yeah.
can't do it.
Yeah. It would. There's no way to do it, like right away.
Yeah. So the only thing you can do for white is, um, so let's say you did this, for example, is they would play this, and then let's say you make a knight move, or let's say you castle because why not? They have to do something like that, and they have to basically go 1 and 2, and all that happens is like a bishop's just over here. In the meantime, you can just bust out d5, or you can bust out rook e8 if you want to attack some pawns. Or if you want to be more annoying, you just play bishop a6, and it's like this lot, like the king can't castle. So there's a lot of different ideas. But just kind of give you an idea that how can I disrupt this guy? How can I disrupt this chess player? What can I do for
Right. Okay. Yeah.
So you play queen e6. They play bishop g2.
Yeah.
And
So he plays that, and I played knight f6. I developed my knight.
makes sense. So this is not a bad idea too, because at least now your knight can come out naturally, and you're already threatening the pawn, so they can't really castle right away. So again, that's another. That's actually not a bad idea. Okay, continue.
He played knight d2.
Okay.
I castled kingside.
Oh no! Because imagine bishop a6 now.
I think that would have been pretty good too.
Yeah. Well, they could still play c4, but then they drop a pawn.
Right.
So that's kind of like that's man. You just like being annoying. You should change your name to like the annoying like chess player or something. I don't know. But I would be very frustrated if I was playing you and you did these type of moves.
Right. So
Okay,
yeah,
so after knight d2,
so after I castled kingside,
oh, yeah, sorry, you castled.
and then he played queen f3.
Makes sense.
I responded by moving to king. I moved my king to g7.
Oh, why did you do that?
Because I just didn't want my queen to be locked in there forever. I wanted to be able to move it at some point, so I decided to just move my king up to defend the piece.
Have you considered moving your bishop at all?
Uh, I was yeah. I think my next move I moved my bishop.
Okay. So again, just to kind of highlight, and I'm obviously not going to try and repeat anything. You always want to look at first, can my opponent do anything? So this is a formula I actually teach new chess players. I call it the three T's, or more accurately, I call it the three threats. And you do it on both sides of the board. So the first thing you do is you look at your opponent and they go and you ask the question, can they threaten my king? And if they can't threaten your king, then you check if can you threaten my piece? And then if you can't
Right.
threaten your piece, then you ask, can you threaten my position? And they're all three different criterias. With the king being the top priority, the pieces being the second, and the position being last. Now the threat with priority, or sorry, threat with position, it's a bit tougher for 1200s to understand. But like, there's some common stuff like they can pick it up immediately. But after you do that like assessment, then you go to your side of the board and you ask yourself, can I threaten their king? Can I threaten their pieces? Can I threaten their position? And then you compare it. So let's say your opponent is threatening a piece. So remember this bishop. Remember the bishop move a long time ago.
Yeah.
Here, let me get to it. It's like one of these crazy lines, eh? Here we go. Yeah, so this position right here. So right now they're like, okay, can I threaten your king? Not right now. Can I threaten a piece? Well, they're getting their piece threatened, and that's like a 3 point bishop. And they playing this, they recognize that hey, I can threaten a 9 piece. So what's better, 9 or 3? Nine's better. Therefore, I can play this move. So see how that kind of formula works in a way,
Yeah. Yeah.
because it's all based on the different like the threat priority. So if you did that for every move you did, you'll be at 1400 by the end of the month. Every
Really.
I would put money on it. Because if you ask yourself, okay, threats to my king, threats to my pieces, you're going through every single one, threats to my position. Okay, I identified like they have a threat to my pawn, etc. Now I check, and oh, I can't threaten their king. Oh, I can't threaten their pieces. Oh, I can't threaten their position. Therefore, the top priority now is the pawn that's being attacked. So therefore, I have to do something about it. And then once you do that, your thinking will now just go straight to that pawn, and you'll look at all the different ways you can defend. So the threat, that type of formula is not meant to um, tell you what to do, and it's not meant to help you decide what the best move is. It's just to help your thinking be specific to something that you need to do, and that's kind of important because in chess, kind of like how you say you watch streamers, you don't know half the shit that they do on the board. That because they're doing that type of assessment that I just said, they're just doing it 15 times faster because they've done it so many times repeatedly. Because every time we're playing, we're always scanning the board to make sure that our king's not going to get killed. We always do it every single time. It may not look it, but we're doing it. Because if we see our kings being jeopardized, that's automatically the first priority. Unless you can attack their king faster. Otherwise, you know what? There might be a queen that I would love to take from your opponent, but my king's in danger of getting mate. Then I can't do it. because my king's priority on a threat level.
Hmm.
So again, the three T's: threats to king, threats to position, pieces, threats to position. You do that, you'll be 100% better over time. Like the change will be fundamentally different. And the problem is, you might have to play like a longer game because 10 minutes might not be enough because you have to really think it out, and that's fine.
Right.
You might have to just play unrated, untimed. Play rated, but play untimed. So let's get to your. Okay, so we're over here. So knight f6.
Yeah.
Castled. You castled. Queen f3. King g7. Does that seem right?
Yeah.
Oh no,
so
no, no,
that's
that doesn't
the
seem
position.
right. Is that really it? No,
Oh,
no,
cause
no.
he,
You played
he
Queen f3 first.
yeah, he played queen f3 first, and then so here, after I moved my king, so he played queen f3,
Oh
then I
no, no, no. You
played
played knight f6, knight d2. Then you castle,
oh,
and then they played queen
yeah.
f3, and then you played king g7. There we go.
Yes, yeah, that's exactly what happened. And then he castled afterward.
Yeah, which kind of makes
And
sense.
then yeah, and then after that I finally developed my bishop to a6.
Yeah. Okay.
He obviously moves the rook to f2.
Yep.
And then I played d5.
Okay.
He responds. He took with the pawn, of course, and then I made a mistake here and took with the knight.
Okay, so why is this a mistake?
I mean, I think that it's just a mistake because taking with literally any other piece is better. Like, I think that of all the pieces I could have taken with, I chose the worst one. And like looking at it, yeah, I don't know why in my head I was like, oh, I'm just gonna take with the knight, because like I think I'm just leaving my knight in a bad spot because
No,
that
but
just has to go back.
but no. Like I want you to. So it's kind of okay. So this is kind of like a debate now. I want you to defend your argument of why the knight on d5 is not good, and I want you to use like to your thoughts like fact. I want like from you like I want from your interpretation. I want you to explain like the actual reasons, not kind of like oh the feeling. Like I want you to like on the board.
Okay.
Why is knight d5 sucks based on the pieces and pawns on the board?
Because you can just push e4, and then what do I do? I think e4 is what he actually played, and then I think that I should have probably just gone back, but I did not just go back. What I played, I ended up playing g4. Oh, okay. I did not realize that this happened in this game. And then he played queen e3, hanging his queen.
Oh.
And I captured it tonight.
Okay. So
yeah. So my opponent blundered.
So couple of things in this game. I'm glad you said that e4 was like an idea. Because it's definitely possible for black to white to play this, and I think it's actually a pretty good move. Like you could play knight b6 to eventually play knight c4, but honestly, it's not really doing anything. Your pieces are not exactly coordinated right now, and white can just play naturally good moves like rook e1, rook d1, and kind of just like control the center a little bit. And you can do the same thing, like move your rooks. So I could see why. Another thing too is that d5 seems a little bit more natural because anything involving a c4 push or an e4 push, you have a lot of options, which you can kind of like think to yourself like, all right, if the pawn goes here, is this a bad thing? Well, you know what's funny? You playing king to g7 is probably the best move you did this game, apart from taking the queen, just based on what I'm seeing, because you're protecting the knight on f6 naturally, which is really smart because the rook and queen are constantly threatening this knight, and if the king wasn't on g7, the knight would have to move right away and lose a tempo. But instead, your knight could just stay right there, and it's a good square because it protects d5, protects e4, potentially you can go to g4 one day, and your opponent can't place weird stuff like h. Let's say the pawn bishop was protecting h3, you have like g4 type tactics, like you have options. The knight, and you always want to get your knights preferably on decent squares. So another so that's something you can do. Like in your mind, you're like, okay, if I take with the pawn, what can white do? Well, what makes a lot of sense. They could push the pawns. They can't push this one because you can take for free. And if they push this one, well, you can just simply take it, and
Yeah.
they can't take back. Well, they could, but it's not the cleanest position. The Pensive Panda, thank you for the follow, man. Appreciate it. Because now you can play stuff like you can take it, your queen's here. Maybe you want to play like rook d8, and now it's kind of like a really balanced position, 5 pawns versus 5 pawns, which is not bad for black because you get into an equal position type game. Another thing, or you could just play c6, and now you keep the pawn pressure on the board, which then controls e4 and f and c4 squares. So you don't have to necessarily take things, but you want to keep your pawns out because they are covering squares. So hey, the way I see it, that's good that you recognize that. The knight wasn't the best spot, but maybe the next game it might be. It just really depends on the context of the board. So another thing too I really liked is you. Let me get back to. So they played d4. You played. So you played g4, right?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's some fire. That is a fire position. So this is an example of, remember when I told you about the threats? You just did it right now. You realize that, hey, you know what? You're threatening my level 3 piece. I'm going to threaten your level 9 piece. And you have no checks, or no good checks. So you got to move your shit.
Right.
That's what you're basically saying. So what is white's best options here? You can if you look at the board and analyze that.
Okay. I think white can just take the knight. Because white can just take, because if I take the queen, he takes my queen. Actually, wait, no. No. Because then I can just, wait. Because then I'm winning a piece. He's not, wait, yeah, that's not right.
Well, how is it not right?
Wait. Okay, sorry, wait, can you go back? I just wrote, sorry.
Yeah, take your time. So don't rush.
Oh, okay, no, it is even. No, it is even, sorry. I for some reason thought I was taking another piece from white. No, yeah, I think that is maybe the right move from white, because, I mean, it's just an even trade.
So how about this? Don't tell me you think it's right or not. I want you to calculate this to the very end, and take the time you want, and then you tell me if this is good for white or black, or it's equal. Because this is a perfect exercise. This is where the calculation of this sequence is not that difficult, but for a 1200, it's definitely challenging to do it correctly. So, because you have to do it in your mind, right? So I want you to do it right now, and then tell me exactly who's winning, black, white, and I want you to tell me if it's white winning, it's because they're up a pawn or they have a better position, or X, Y, Z. And likewise for black, if black's winning, you have to tell me exactly why. You can't just say, "Oh, black's winning." No, I want you to prove it. Or if it's a draw, you have to tell me why it's a drawish type game.
All right.
So take your time. I'm not gonna say. I'll put myself on mute if I'm talking to the chat. Right now, the chat's kind of asleep, just watching.
Okay.
Oh no, they're not asleep. I'm just joking.
Okay. I believe I've calculated the position.
Woo! All right. Okay, so first,
Uh,
who's what is it? White, black, or Drosh?
at the end of the calculation, I believe that white is winning here.
And how is white winning?
Okay, so after the pawn takes
No, no,
sequence,
no,
so pawn
no,
takes.
no, no, no.
Oh,
We're not doing the solve. We're not doing the calculation. I want you to tell me why is white winning, and
like
how is
he,
white winning too?
oh, like here at the or by the end of like all the
At
capture
the end, and if
sequence.
everything goes after you calculate it in your mind, you've
Okay.
just said that white is winning. So how
Yeah.
is white winning?
White's winning because after the capture sequence, they're up a pawn. Their bishop is eyeing the pawn on the c file on c6.
Mm-hmm.
Their pieces are. I mean, I think they're about as active as mine because I have an active rook on the. We both have an active rooks on the a file.
Okay.
His bishop is stronger.
Okay.
Uh, I just think that yeah, and plus he's up material as well. And my king isn't in the most safe
Wait, wait,
position as
wait. So
well.
first you said he's the white is up a pawn, and now
Yeah.
you mentioned like positionally, like there's better pieces that are more coordinated. But now you said up
Yeah.
material. So now what does material mean?
So material, like as in like like pieces.
So they're up a piece and a pawn.
No, he's up a pawn,
Okay,
but
so that's
he's
why
up
you
like one
don't
point.
want to. So don't say that because what you wanted. So the reason why I'm teaching you this is, um, and this is not necessarily chess. This is kind of like just in general. You want to be accurate with your words, because if you're accurate with your words, you're accurate with your thoughts, and if you're accurate with your thoughts, that means it's easier to like think the right move, think the right sequence, because you don't want some information to like misinformation. Let's put it that way. You don't want to think anything like something incorrect because it might screw your whole calculation up. The
Okay.
the great thing about calculating it's that it's completely emotionless. It's just straight up like one after the other, and then if that does, and then doing it different ways, doing it for different paths, and it's all about. It's kind of like crunching numbers, but it's not really numbers. It's kind of like lines or moves. So
Hmm.
as you look at that and you look at it objectively, you just improve over time. And if you don't like that end game result, then you change the calculation up a little bit else. Does that make sense? So that's why
Yeah.
I'm teaching you this because it's not about like me telling you what the best move is. Anyone can do that. I can put on an engine, make 40 an hour off someone, and be like, here you go, this is the best move. No, I want to teach you thinking like the right way. And thinking means making sure in your head that it's done correctly, or at least prove that your thinking's correct. And if you're wrong, well, it's good. It's fine that you're wrong. Now you know why you're wrong, and now let's get to like the right part. So then you know this in your mind, and therefore that's what's going to help you get better. So I like how you said that you're up. You were definitive, right? We don't know if you're correct or
Yeah.
not. I certainly haven't calculated the whole line yet, so I don't know if you're right or not. But I do like you
Right.
said. You said white is winning because they're up a pawn. They have a better bishop position. They have better rook. And then I'm going to pretend you didn't say the material part because that's where everything got. Because you threw everything
All
away,
right.
right? When you said material, like that doesn't make sense. If they were up material, you would say the material first, right? Is more important
Yeah.
than the pawn. So okay, let's see what your. So let's prove your facts. So right now we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We got 6 white pawns,
Hmm.
and we got
And 6 for
6
black.
black pawns.
Yeah.
We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces, and we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right.
Yeah.
So now you can tell me the calculation because
All
now we
right.
want to see if your
So
calculation is accurate.
okay. So pawn takes knight on the d file.
Yes.
I take the queen.
Yes.
He takes my queen.
Yes.
I capture his bishop.
Yes.
He takes my pawn.
Yes.
I capture with the rook.
The black pawn.
No, like the white pawn I capture with my rook.
Oh yeah, it's black to move, right? Yep.
Yeah. And then he wins my pawn. Probably with I'd assume the rook, yeah.
Okay. How many pawns
So
does
now
he have?
he has 5 pawns and now I have 4. So I've now lost a pawn.
Okay.
And I still have stacked pawns on the c file.
That's right.
If we go into an end game, it's basically losing for black.
I would say it's almost losing. I would say it's like 100% losing, and the only reason
Yeah.
why is because you have a bishop.
Especially at 1200. I feel like at 1200 it's not entirely losing.
Oh yeah, 1200. Yeah, yeah, of course. You could be up like you could be like minus 17 and still win. But that's correct. So based on what I've seen, you calculated that white's up a pawn. They don't have to necessarily. They could just take with the king. I think that's
that's what I would do.
fine. And their position is balanced. Like their pawns are good. Their knight can go to like if the knight gets to d4, it's going to be very tough. Or if your knight gets to c5, it's even worse. Like you can go like knight b3, knight c5, and now it's covering all these squares. Like that's kind of a little bit crazy. So yeah, definitely I can see white being better here. Now let's take a look if you calculated correctly. So you played here, and they took. So now this is where you get to the interesting part. Is there a better move for white here? And I'm not necessarily asking you that question. I'm kind of just like generally asking it. I'm asking myself that question too, because not everything, and that's the thing about calculating. When you get to this type of sequence, this is one option. What's the other options? And then you try and figure out what's like the best option. And sometimes you might have to calculate, like in this line, you might actually have to calculate 3 to 4 more variations to decide which was better. And it's clear that this is one, but we don't know if it's the best yet, because I can think of 3 more right now. I can think of 2. I can think of 3.
I saw that as well. The rook move, I think was the second thing I saw.
I can think of 5. I can think of 6.
Right.
Because let's say if they take, then you can just play knight c5.
Oh, and that hurts.
And that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, that is actually quite interesting.
Now they could do something like this, so maybe it's not, the best move, but I don't know. It's not a bad idea.
Oh, then I get forked.
So this is like, don't get me wrong, this is very hard to calculate because end games are extremely tough. Like end games, it's its own learning section.
Yeah, I suck. I don't like end games.
Yeah, so I love end games, and that's something that I got very good at, like just over time. But it was definitely the most time I put in. It's definitely the most difficult, I feel, because when there's less pieces and less pawns on the board, there's just so many different ways, so many different options. It's very hard to calculate, process. Even your pattern recognition is pretty tough. Oh,
right.
So one of the Reddit students is also watching too. The Pensive Panda, pretty good. So queen's taken, bishop's taken. We got 6 pawns to black 6. Well, 6 pawns. Man, it's tough. I kind of like the rook move.
Yeah, that was the other line, the main line that I saw. I was like, oh, he could move his rook there as well.
Yeah, and the reason why I kind of like the rook move is because remember that bishop f1 move? That's like a good possibility. It doesn't work because of the knight on d2. But also like knight e4 is kind of interesting because you have you can jump to like different squares. But I don't like moving the knight too much. I want to get like the rook active. So
right.
I feel like rook e1 is so natural, and even if the black takes, you could just exchange rooks.
Right. And you'll just be up a pawn after white takes, and they're threatening the pawn on the c file.
Yeah, and if black plays something like this, which obviously you can't take, you can just go after these pawns and then move your rook back and try and clean up this bishop later, because this pawn isn't moving. Like your king's kind of literally weirdly like stacked. Or actually, you know what? Maybe that doesn't work. Maybe if you do this, and if black plays this, you just take the pawn. So there's really like no threat.
Right.
Uh, T Ronton, is that how you say it? T Ronton. What's going on, man? I'm just doing some chess training.
So I have a question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that maybe we could potentially play a game and then after you could tell me what I did wrong? Because I'm assuming you're gonna beat me because you're like what? Like what's your rating?
So on the board, I'm like 2,000. I think I'm like low
Oh boy.
2,000s.
Yeah.
Bullet, I'm between 22 to 23, and
Right.
Blitz, I'm 21 to 22. So
Okay.
funny enough that you said that because when I do like paid lessons with anyone
Yeah.
now, I the first thing I do is I play them because I want to
Right.
gauge their strengths. And then what happens is that I do like an hour lesson total, which, by the way, we're at like an hour. I think we this is way over an hour, so you're like getting your money's worth, man. But
Yeah.
but what I do is when I do a lesson, half an hour. Like if it's a big pure beginner, half an hour is first teaching them a lesson on openings.
Yeah.
And I don't mean like learning an opening. I mean like opening principles,
Right.
like the five, like I call it the 5 steps of opening. And then afterwards, always the last half an hour of the lesson, I always play a game against them because we need to get as much practical experience as possible in playing like regular chess with no timer. And I always go like I wouldn't go like 100%, but I go like 90% because I want them to over time as they learn from their feet, slowly like they'll take the lessons and they'll click it. And sometimes I'll play I'll play very simple openings. I won't go crazy, but I'll still
Right.
like try and crush them because I don't want that double. I don't want to like it's not really necessary about boosting their confidence. It's just I want them to apply what they're learning and see how the difference is. And they might not be able to say it, but they can internalize it, and that's the key. So you just build up that experience. And then, of course, if the student's a lot stronger, like if it's 1400, 15, or 16, um, then I kind of focus more on the lesson side. And we might play it like a 5 minute game of chess rather than an untimed game of chess. Students, always
Right.
untimed because it's all about them taking their time to think. That's all that matters. Even if their thinking's like 10%. So, yeah, we can play a game. Do you want to play a game right now? It's up to you.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. I'd love to.
Okay. So we'll play a game, and then probably we'll call it a lesson end because there might be someone else that wants to play. I think there's a
Yeah.
pensive pen is definitely waiting, and usually I told myself to give only half an hour, but you were the only one out of like the 9 people that
I mean, yeah. I
messaged
got
me.
a good hour. Oh my god. Thanks, man. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
so no, it's all good because I literally wait. I messaged 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I messaged 12 people that added me since Reddit, and you're the
Right.
only one on. But yesterday I got 7 messages and I wasn't on. So that's what convinced me
Really.
like I need to go online today. So
All right.
do you have a Lead Chess account?
I do. Yeah.
All right, so you know what to do. I'm not even gonna say anything. You know my username. You can see it in the corner.
Okay. I've never sent a request to play with somebody on Lead Chess, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah, for sure. I'll just chat it.
Uh,
Wait, can I play after that guy? Yeah, you sure. What's your strength out of curiosity?
here we go.
We have an NM that's taking challenges.
What time control do you want to do?
Up to you. Oh, just don't pick untimed because I'm just gonna bullet it then.
Okay.
We could do like we could do like a 10-minute game. Let's do that.
Okay.
And then I don't think it's gonna take 20 minutes because I'll move really quick. I never played on the board, but I'm like 1400 on chess.com. Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so I think I just. Oh, there we go. Okay, you just get it. All right.
Good luck.
Ready. Fuck.
Oh, so you've actually played. Sorry, I'm talking with the chat. So you never played on the on the board game, but you've only played online. Don't you just can't wait till when COVID's done, you can actually play an on the board game? Like, don't you just want to feel like the chess piece in your hand and move it? Like, I can't wait for that. It's gonna be so a year and a half, almost like a year and a half of like no chess, man. It's crazy. No touching boards or anything. Yeah, it would be sick. Yeah, we just gotta be smart, stay safe, stay at home if we possibly can, protect yourself at all times, and then we'll get through it. I started chess like right when COVID. Yeah, so and that's a lot of chess players have been doing that. That's been really like a common story um, throughout this time, for sure. My friend is trying to crush me. Interesting. Did you watch the Queen's Gambit? To Anton? Oh, feel free to give me a follow if you haven't followed yet, man. Follows do. I do appreciate the follows, and they're free, even better. Man, I can tell you're taking it serious, man. You're like playing some high caliber moves.
Oh, am I? Okay, good.
Shion Todd, thanks for the follow. Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Queen's Gambit is pretty good.
hmm.
I like watching chess related stuff, more like PogChamps or some of the higher. Yeah, no, chess is definitely becoming more entertaining because there's a lot of people, especially in Twitch, that are trying to make it more not just accessible but more fun and more, I would say, flashy, but more entertaining. Because chess is kind of tough to watch unless you have a big passion for the game or you know what's going on. So it's definitely great that Twitch is supporting sites like chess.com, and then Elite Chess is also doing their thing to just make chess more fun. Pod Champs is definitely fun to watch. The thing with me when it comes to Pod Champs, just because I'm like a decent player, I can't stand it. It's too tough because um, like I see all the moves like almost all the time, and it's just I just can't do it, man. I can't. It's tough for me to watch. Like it really is. Yeah, it's definitely becoming a spectator sport now. Yeah, well, no, I'm glad that they're doing it more though. Like, don't get me wrong, Podshams is a great thing, um, because if you want to watch like a serious chess game, there's plenty of serious games. If you want to watch high celebrity Twitch streamers play chess, that's also good for it too. Because at the end of the day, it just adds more viewers. That's all that matters. It ain't over till anyone can blunder. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like the whole blunder part. I know you guys enjoy it. To me, it's cringe, man. As a semi competitive chess player myself, it's cringe. I it's tough. It's very tough, but it's doing a lot of good. And I glance at it maybe from time to time, but otherwise, I'm good. I'm good. Like it's very tough for me to get into it too because I know that I can like kill everyone there like senselessly, and that's not like ego or anything. That's just truth. So it's very tough for me to kind of like make it fun in my mind. While as if I'm watching like the Masters play or I'm watching some cool like FM versus NM match, I'm more interested in those because I can like see like the moves and be like, oh, they're trying to figure it out and worm their way out, and plus it's just I can also kind of learn from it too. Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I think we have the opposite problem. Sometimes it's impossible to understand what's going on in the higher rated attorneys for me. Yeah, understandable. I was just talking to my student right now that we're having a game. I was telling them in the beginning that the reason why it's hard to understand is because just naturally, oh, you want to change queens, eh? Okay. Because naturally, your it's very like it's very hard to see things on your own. Like that's always been very tough to do, unless you have some sort of direction. And when you're seeing IMs or FMs or GMs playing, you're not going to get that sense of knowing what's going on unless you know it or if someone tells you. And if someone tells you, then it's more fun because you see the idea. But the problem is, in the future, you don't want to just want to see the idea. You want to see the idea on your own, and that's where the gap is in terms of viewing. So in that case, it's fine. So that's why, like learning chess and doing studying and find out the best way you can learn chess just by like watching videos or by reading books, like what I used to do, which is what really helped me get strong, and also just playing more chess in general. It's just going to help anyone improve, and then eventually you'll. The real fun is like you get to see what others see. This is a really good game, and I'm not saying that because I'm up a pawn. I'm just saying that for a 1250, you're putting up a very good fight. Like most
Thank you.
1250s, I would close my eyes and smack them around. No, okay. I'm not trying to be like, but you know what I mean, right? Like I wouldn't even
I know what
like.
you mean. Yeah, I can get
I'm
that.
actually
I
thinking
understand that.
against you because I could see like what you're trying to do. I don't know if that would be that good though. I usually just like playing games. Plus, I really study. Yeah, so you know what? You're enjoying chess too. Pensive, yeah, I know. Sorry, I had that in me. Like I just got to express it. But I do know how to teach, and I do know how to make someone um, feel good and encouraged. But I'm not gonna like color shade it with flowers, right? Like unless they're like 6 years old, then it's different. But 17, hell yeah, I'm gonna tell you straight up because you'll appreciate it more. Mm-hmm. So how many followers I got today? I got one, two, three, four, five, six. Damn, 7 followers. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. Not bad. And we had 1 subscriber. That was a good move. That was a very good move. When did you start playing? In terms of like when I first like started playing chess, or like today. Lol, I'm in a chess club at school, and we have this FM coach, and he just roasts the shit out of us every time we reviews our games. Oh yeah, like my goal is to roast the crap out of this player right now. I'm playing right after this. Don't go. No kidding. But that's my pleasure in life, roasting. No, I'm kidding. But yeah, that FM, 100% will like shred everyone. No cap. Man, you're making this tough. Why are you playing so good? This is not this is not fun for me to watch. To be put in this situation that you put me in. Like you're utilizing your bishops and your knights, and it's getting a tad bit annoying.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. Good.
You see, good. You're doing something because the fact that I have 7 minutes left and I'm taking this amount of time against you is not fun. Like I don't know what's going on. You're just putting all this like correct pressure as you should be. Try that.
Yeah, see, that was what I thought you were gonna do.
Good, good. No cap
Uh,
has never given anyone a single compliment ever, but we don't care. It helps you get better. Yeah, but okay, you have to be careful. Like, just because you're like, there's some. It depends on what you're doing. Like, what's the context? If you're a soldier, yeah, no tough love, that type of shit makes you stronger. That's the goal, so you don't get killed when you're fighting. I get that. But chess, come on, man, it's just chess. You don't have to be like ripping someone to shred, breaking their whole soul apart. It's crazy, man. Bro, this is like the strongest 1200 I've seen. Whoa, this 1200 just received a very strong and important lesson from me. If you go back to this clip on my channel, on this Twitch channel, you're gonna see everything I spoke to him about. Actually, you know what, Nico, how I'm gonna put this on my YouTube channel as like the first lesson. Are you okay with
okay,
it?
awesome. Yeah, yeah, I'm totally okay with that.
Because I was actually thinking that everything I do on Twitch, I can make that content. Because I already have a YouTube channel with like 250 something subscribers. I actually have way more subscribers than I have here. And I was like, I had trouble figuring out what I wanted to do content wise, and I was like, well, why don't I just record everyone anonymously? So I'll be like, Vajir trains anonymous player 1, and then tomorrow will be like anonymous player 2 or 3, depending how fast this game's gonna go. Oh, you did one of these, eh? Oh, so now see, this is where you're making me calculate now, because you know what I'm thinking now, right?
Yeah, oh,
You know,
I know. Yeah, I did a lot of calculation on this move. I looked into a lot of things.
okay. So let me do this. See if I can calculate correctly. I'm even showing the arrows too, so you can even
I might have
confirm.
calculated. I might have. I don't know. I think I did calculate this right. There's a lot of things that can happen here.
Hmm, it's quite interesting. Looks like it's an even game if I take that knight. So we don't want to make it even, of course. We want to make it a little bit more, a little more winning. What openings do you
Okay.
recommend for beginner to intermediate? I don't recommend any opening. I recommend fundamental principles to understand the five, well, I like to call the five principles of openings, and improve on those tremendously. And when you improve on those tremendously, then you can play anything because you're not going to blunder the first like 10 moves.
Hmm.
That's what I recommend for a newer player. Yeah, baby, pensive, get on that YouTube. Um, the FM I was talking about earlier tried teaching us the King's Indian, but not gonna lie, they're a dumbass. So here's the problem: just because you're a title player, it doesn't mean you're qualified to teach. Like I've taught in every age, every strength. Obviously, I don't teach 1800s because we're all in like the same realm of strength in a way. Like an 1800 can beat me too, of course. Um, I might just be more consistent in 1800, but that doesn't mean that I can't win. Like, of course, I can lose. Um, I know what you're trying to do, buddy. So that's the problem is you like you got to find like if you're trying to get better, the coach is the fastest way to do it because they can point you in the right direction quicker. And second is like studying books, videos, whatever works for your training. But you have to find the right person to do it. That's the problem. So we're doing some calculations right now. Boom, boom, take, take, boom, boom. So that doesn't work. So I just can't push the D pawn needlessly because you'll actually be able to stop it in time. So what are all the other different options I have? So I can play this move, and then if he takes, I push, but then take, take, and the rook is still preventing stuff, so you're up a pawn. So it looks like you played a really good move. That's a really good endgame move. So I have to respect it in defense. So notice how I use the same formula of threats. I look to see if I have
Right.
a threat of trying to queen, and I thought that you were able to stop it. And if you can stop it and go up a pawn, that's pretty good for you. Like it's not like winning, but it's still good for you because you got a pawn at the end of it. So therefore, I realize I have to prioritize defense. Mm-hmm. Mm. See, looks like I made the rush move now because I think I lose a pawn no matter what. Actually, no, I don't lose a pawn, but it's not a pleasant position. It's not as good as it was earlier for me. So you're like, I don't know what you're drinking or smoking or anything, but you're like, oh no, you're not allowed to. You're still it's fine. But you are definitely you got some skill in you for sure. You're definitely like this is some really good strong end game principles
I
that you
appreciate that.
like. I can definitely lose if I didn't take the time I took. If I rushed everything, I could easily lose. Why didn't you push the other pawn? Because then he would have taken the e4 pawn, and it's just because his rook is already on d1. It's not. I can't queen, and I can't take advantage of the position to get his other pawns. So he's already up a pawn, and if I even take advantage of the other position and get a pawn in return, it's already too late. Yeah, this is interesting now. I can definitely defend. This is going to be a very good endgame lesson. I don't even know if Panda we're going to have time. Like it's already at 9:44 p.m. Oh my god. Like Nico, you're like running away with this right now. You're like soaking in all the training. You're just running.
I'm I'm very focused.
No, no, I'm just saying because the lesson that I'm giving you is not even half an hour. This is like beyond the level described. Yeah, Pensa, don't worry. I'm gonna try and be available every day, at least Monday to Friday. First come, first serve. And now that I'm gonna try and like stream it, I think that's kind of a cool idea too. All right, so this is something called. Oh damn, I forgot the word for this. Um, but basically, wow, I actually forgot the
Oh,
end game word for this.
well, that hurts. That hurts. That hurts.
So this is actually an end game like specific technique, um, where you put the onus on the opponent to make a move that's literally losing on the spot. Um, and I remember it's called Zugzwang. It's a very advanced technique. So basically, I think you already know, but I put you in a Zook Swain where I did all the calculating and identified that when I get my king here and you get your king on e2, all I have to do is lock up your white pawns. So that's why I played c5. That was really important. Because if I did play c5, let's say the pawn was on c6 still, you could have played b4, and then if I take, you could sneak your a pawn to queen, and you would get it. So I had to play c5 to prevent the pawn from pushing. Hey, Sparksy, 223, thanks for the follow, man. So I was able to close all those gaps, and now you're in Zook Swain. So now I can move my king left or right and just go after any of these pawns. And by the time I pick up any 2 pawns, the game is over. So I probably would go here because I want this pawn's closest to you that could potentially queen, possibly. So I'm going to eliminate those. Can you play a3 then, though? I didn't have any. There's no a3 for black in this position. You mean b3, right? Well, look. So let's do the calculations. So let's say you played b4, right? And I played b4, a5, b3. He could play king. And yeah, maybe it's already winning because my pawn's on e3, and I could just play e2 to make the king be white king distracted and then push my pawn through. But why do that when I could just play a very simple calculated win just based on Zook Swain? Don't make it too complicated unless you know how to calculate everything. And also, I'm on, like, if this was like 30 seconds left, I don't think I would try and calculate this whole b4 white push when I could just play c5, shut it down immediately, and then just naturally play Zook Swain and win. Sparksy, I just follow because I like helping out other people because I stream and I know it's hard to get followed, so I want to pop in and spread a love. Hey, Sparksy, appreciate it. If you are going to stream soon chess, I can always just raid you. And that's my way of spreading love. So now, but I don't have to chase a pawn anymore because you gave me opposition. And I can queen. So we don't have to play further. This game is over.
All right.
But good game, man. That was... What the hell? You're not 1250. That was insane.
Oh, I am on chess.com.
Lies. You're much stronger than that. That was crazy even for me. No 1250 gives me this amount of difficulty. You're like this... Like,
I was actually really happy with that game.
Are you kidding me? Like Tiranton said, this is like the strongest 1200 I've ever seen. I agree. Hands down.
What? Okay.
You need to go on Reddit later on today and be like, I'm the strongest 1200 ever, and then post this friggin' game. And then everyone's going to be like, what the fuck? Yeah, see? This guy's like, yeah, facts. You played way better than a 1250. 100%.
Oh,
Sparksy, I don't stream chess, but I like watching chess. Hey, no worries, man. What do you stream? But, yeah, no, that, like, to me, I didn't feel like you were 1200. I felt, honestly, based on the game win, yeah, like, based on the fact you played your bishop and knight moves pretty amazing, I thought you were at least, like, 1600. That's how I felt.
Wow.
Maybe even higher. Because you definitely outplayed me with the whole rooks to get a pawn up. Or to, like, go after the pawns. Like, I had to, like, this whole e3 pawn push I did, like, if I didn't think of that move, you would have been up a pawn. Like,
yeah, I think that was the only move, I think.
And I literally pulled that out of my ass crack. Like, I was like, shit, what am I supposed to do here? You're going to get D pawn, or you're going to get the E pawn. And if I give you C5, you're just going to take that pawn. So I was trying to figure this out. Like, how am I going to get out of this? But, no. Crazy, man. Good strength.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So what we'll do is, I'm not going to analyze this game. I'm kind of, when we connect again, we'll go through this whole game.
All right.
Because it's on your profile, so it's easy to access. And trust me, there's a lot of gems in here. I like thinking it in my head right now. There's a lot of things we can talk about, but I think that'll be it. So yeah, have a good one. Thanks for joining by. Thanks for letting me upload this content to YouTube. Thanks for being cool with me interacting with the streamers. the viewers that were cheering you on. See, Pensive Panda said, "Well done, man." He just told you that right now. As a fellow Reddit chess player, he just said that to you.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So,
but yeah, man, I really appreciate it. It was a good time.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm glad you enjoyed. Have a good one, and yeah, just message me. You know the times.
Yeah.
Cool. Have a good one.
All right. You too, man. See ya.
See ya. Well, guys, that was fun. Hey, and Nico's following too. That was a good lesson, man. Good job. Tiranton, do you want to play a game? You know what? Honestly, I don't know if I'm going to continue playing. It's kind of late. I've been doing it for like 2.5 hours, and normally I have longer streams.